Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JB Hoops, and today we have the third installment of the Top 10 series, where I'll be breaking down my top 10 forwards in the 2025 draft class. Like the video and subscribe if you are new, I really appreciate it. I'll quickly get out a few honorable mentions of guys who just missed the cut, like Bryce Williams out of Nebraska and Nova's Eric Dixon. Overall, there's not that many good forwards after my top 10, but these guys are at least worth considering in the late second or for two ways. And anyway, let's just get right into it. Starting us off at 10, I have Alex Tui out of the Sydney Kings. The 6'9" Australian is a low usage, versatile forward who just gets it done and impacts the game in a number of areas. The main worry will be the lack of a true dependable skill, along with him being a bit older at already 21. He has clean mechanics and was billed as a high level shooter coming up, but ultimately he will need to be a good shooter to stick long term, and the signs aren't overly positive with the middling free throw shooting and career sample. On the flip side, I really like what he can do defensively as a team defender. He positions himself well, has great instincts, as well as the hands and length to be very disruptive, with a combined 6.6 stock percentage. On the ball, he's not quite as strong with his stiff hips and average foot speed, but his motor is excellent and he more than holds his own against the majority of matchups. He's also a very solid passer with a 1.2 assist to turnover ratio, who just makes the right play consistently. I don't think he'll ever create much, and he lacks the counters in the mid-range, but he's solid when attacking closeouts and evading traffic, converting with his polish and finesse. Plus, he's just a very smart player who finds space, whether that be on cuts or relocations on the perimeter. So despite some limitations, Alex Tui is a very intriguing bet in the second with his well-rounded plug-and-play skill set. So Tui is my 10th ranked forward in the class. Coming in at 9, I have Bogoljub Markovic, the 7-footer out of Mega. Markovic's main selling point is his offensive versatility and fluidity as a 7-foot forward. He's very effective off-ball with his clean, repeatable shooting stroke, ability to attack tilted defenses and ball handling. He did knock down 38.8% of his threes, but could stand to increase the volume. He's comfortable posting up, especially against smaller defenders, where he wins with his touch, footwork and size. Markovic is also an impressive passer, who reads the floor well and can hit cutters or make skips to the weak side, and he's effective in the short roll with his length, finishing, touch and vision. He's not a super explosive athlete and is limited vertically, but he's very fast both with and without the ball, and definitely has the ability to take slower footed bigs off the bounce. The strength is the main limiter on both ends of the floor, where he has issues with fouls and turnovers and can just struggle with physicality overall. But he weighed in at 213 for the combine, which is a huge improvement from his original 190 listing. Bogoljub also has a lot of work to do defensively, but he can make plays with his mobility, foot speed and pure size and length, where he'll wall up inside and force a miss with his 9'2" standing reach. Overall, he has a lot of things to work on, his strength specifically, but with his offensive abilities and upside, I'd be confident betting on him in the late first or early second. Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's comes in at 8. The 6'9" junior is an impressive athlete with the tools, instincts and ability to make an impact on both ends of the floor. Offensively, Fleming has a pretty limited skill set and is functionally a big, reduced to play finishing and catch and shoot threes. However, he is extremely efficient on those play types, hitting 39% of his threes and finishing 69.9% of his attempts at the rim. Outside of that, he is quite limited, the passing is decent, the handle and decision making needs work, and I'm also not fully convinced by the jumper, as he wasn't a good shooter up until this season and he still struggles a lot versus contests, but he should still bring value offensively with his energy, athleticism and spot up shooting. Fleming is strong defensively as a helper and defensive playmaker, who also makes a big contribution on the glass. His wingspan, timing and ground coverage allow him to disrupt and blow up plays, and really make an impact as a low man in the pick and roll and in passing lanes. However, he can be a bit undisciplined and just get beat too often. The jump in comp from the A10 to the league is a little worrisome. I think he'll need to land in the right spot where he isn't asked to do too much offensively, but he's really good at his strengths whilst possessing excellent physical tools and also won't turn 21 until July. So Rasheer Fleming lands at 8. Ahead of him at 7, I have Noah Pender out of Le Mans. The French forward is close to 6'9" in shoes, and had a very impressive season as a kind of Swiss Army knife type player, who does a bit of everything offensively whilst excelling with his versatility, strength and instincts defensively. One of Penda's greatest strengths is his playmaking. He's a very quick processor who makes impressive reads, and can facilitate in the pick and roll, in transition, and through creating second chance opportunities, boasting a 1.6 assist to turnover ratio, although he can try to force passes at times. He's also an excellent defensive prospect, with great technique, strength, feel for rotations, and solid enough athleticism to stick with most forwards and hold his own on switches. He's a strong defensive playmaker with a combined 6.2 stock percentage, and has an argument to be one of the best defenders in the class. He did test pretty poorly athletically, and this most notably shows up in his game through his struggles finishing through traffic, as he just doesn't have the burst or explosiveness to consistently create separation and find angles to finish. But he is very strong, gets to the line and hustles, so is effective on second chance points and as a cutter. I'm also not super confident in the jumper, and he had some pretty bad misses, but he's confident, has a compact and quick release, and showed some versatility with a few off the dribble, off movement and no-dip threes this season. All in all, Penda is a very intriguing bet as a low maintenance, impactful, high field two-way forward that could bring a ton of value if the scoring continues to improve. At 6, I have Arizona's Carter Bryant. Bryant is a very intriguing talent as a 6'8" freshman with excellent athleticism, defensive capabilities and impressive feel. But he is still quite raw and had limited opportunities this year, so wasn't able to showcase a ton. Carter is an awesome defender with the length, foot speed, technique and vertical leap to effectively defend 1 through 4. His combined 8.6 stock percentage is ridiculous. He moves extremely well, has great instincts, and uses his physical tools to make things tough for whoever he's guarding, although he does need to cut down on the fouls. And he's elite as a helper with his ground coverage, switchability, motor and defensive playmaking. Offensively, Bryant is very effective as a finisher and spot-up shooter, and he can also attack closeouts and make plays for others. He's strong, takes long strides and is very bouncy, and he shot 37.1% from 3 on solid volume, hitting quite a few over tight contests and off slight movement. He's not going to take you off the bounce or hit pull-ups, but he converts on his limited opportunities and still has a ton of room to grow. He's not a perfect prospect and is still very raw offensively, but Carter Bryant has the tools and a very coveted 3-and-D skill set to be super impactful in the league. So I can 100% understand the lotto shouts. At 5, I have Arkansas's Adu Thiero. The 6'7" junior is a freak athlete who dominates on both ends with his energy, force and tools. Defensively, Thiero is a stock machine who can impact both on and off the ball, with his ground coverage, instincts, 7-foot wingspan and quick hands. He has excellent strength and mobility, as well as the quick leap and positioning to be impactful as a low man, and analytically he's one of the better defenders in the class. Thiero is a dominant finisher and downhill scorer, with good body control, touch on floaters, effortless bounce, strength, and a ridiculous 69.2 free throw rate. He's excellent when cutting or in transition, but can also beat defenders and get to his spots off the bounce, although his handle still needs work and his decision making has to improve, as he can rely on his physical gifts, so lacks the craft and finesse to be ultra effective inside. The shooting is the main swing skill. He's struggled throughout his career and has always been a low volume guy, but the indicators are pretty positive overall, given his solid high school sample, deadly floater and promising pull-up game, where he shot 48.8% on 82 far twos. I'm not fully convinced by the half-court offense and it ultimately could restrict his impact, but I think the defense, touch and top-tier athleticism is worth betting on, and he'll make an impact even if the 3-ball doesn't come along. My 4th ranked forward in the class is the 6'9" freshman out of Rutgers, Ace Bailey. Ace is a pretty polarizing prospect as a guy who can dominate games with his elite shooting and shot making, but also disappear for stretches and struggle to make an impact. But in the right situation, I think he could develop into a very scary player. Offensively, Ace has his warts with the lackluster decision making, passing and burst, but he is an elite shooter and tough shot maker. He's incredible in the mid-range with excellent footwork, touch and a high release, although he can struggle to create separation and you'd like to see him create and take higher quality shots, either in the paint or from deep. What's most exciting to me though is the movement shooting potential, with Ace exhibiting his smooth mechanics, coordination and balance. Bailey had issues getting to the rim this season with a sub 20% rim frequency, while shooting just 42.1% on half-court layups. He can struggle with contact as he lacks the craft, explosiveness, handle and strength to be effective at creating advantages, finishing and drawing fouls. But he is a very good cutter and should be more effective off the ball. Defensively, Ace showed he can make an impact both on and off the ball. His secondary rim protection is a legit asset. He has good timing, a quick leap and great length, and he can defend on the perimeter, sliding with ball handlers and contesting shots, but his awareness, strength and motor will all need to improve for him to be a true plus defender. Overall, Ace had a pretty tough season with some ups and downs, but outside of Dylan, he really didn't have a ton of help, so hopefully some of the tendencies can be reined in at the next level, where he can play to his strengths in a reduced role. I definitely have some concerns, but Ace has the tools, special shot making ability and defensive potential to be a very high level player in the league. At 3, I have Colin Murray-Boyles out of South Carolina. CMB is not your typical archetype as a 6'8 non-shooter, but his production and impact as a 19-year-old in the SEC on a terrible team was just unprecedented. And his two-way abilities are very intriguing and in my opinion worth taking very high come draft night. The lack of shooting and offensive role concerns are fair criticisms, and I do think he'll need the right context to truly maximize his talents, but CMB is a dominant interior scorer who gets to the rim and finishes at an astounding rate, ranking in the 86th percentile on post-ups and 88th percentile in isolation points per possession, where he wins with his strength, footwork and soft touch with either hand. And I think this can translate to more off-catch and off-the-bounce attacks as well, given his body control, tight handle, and craft. Murray-Boyles is also an excellent passer with great vision, accuracy, and the ability to create advantages and manipulate defenders, and CMB stands out defensively with his exceptional instincts and fundamentals, to go along with the strength, technique, athleticism, and 7'1" wingspan to really anchor units. He's just an incredibly smart and technical defender who can switch, play in any coverage, and rack up stocks and clean up on the boards. The concerns around his size and shooting are understandable, but I truly think CMB has an extremely rare combination of skills that will enable him to impact at a high level on both ends of the floor, and if the jumper can get to a respectable level, look out. My number 2 forward in the class is Noah Asenge, who's still playing for Ulm in the playoffs. The 6'10 Frenchman is one of the more interesting bets in the class, and his role could be very different early on depending on what type of situation he lands in, but he has been insanely productive and impactful in a pro league as one of the youngest guys in the class. He is very raw and at the moment isn't doing much ball in hand, but he excels as a play finisher and gets to the line at a ridiculous rate. He's a great cutter, a quick leaper, and is great in transition, but due to his slight frame, can struggle finishing and maintaining his balance through contact. Asenge also has shown the ability to attack closeouts and take guys off the bounce, beating them with his long strides, flexibility, length, and touch. Noah could be elite defensively, and his mobility at 6'10 is special. He also has at least a 9'3" standing reach, which is insane. He's super quick laterally, and with his absurdly long arms and quick hands is a very switchable and versatile defender who can protect the rim, pick guys' pockets, scramble out to shooters, and quickly shut off driving angles. He can struggle with screen navigation and back cuts and obviously needs to get a lot stronger, but Asenge's defensive potential is extremely scary. The main swing skill is the shooting. He hasn't been very consistent over his career, but he's picked it up over the course of the season, draining 34% of his threes since March, and the mechanics are relatively clean and I like his touch. He's also a solid passer who keeps the ball moving and can execute tight window passes, and just doesn't make too many silly mistakes. Noah Asenge is definitely one of the more theoretical guys in the class, with a ton of room to grow in most areas of his game, but his production and impact in a pro league as one of the youngest guys in the class just cannot be ignored. And his upside as a do-it-all switchable two-way forward is incredibly exciting. So I can definitely understand having other guys above him. I get the arguments for Ace and CMB, but for now I have Asenge as my second ranked forward in the class. Obviously, Cooper Flagg is my number 1 forward in the class. Coop had an all-time great season as a guy who started the season as a 17-year-old, and he probably exceeded the ridiculously high expectations with a box plus minus of 15, nation-leading RAPM, along with every other award you can think of. This season, Flag showcased his defensive dominance, polished scoring, and evolving abilities as a primary creator. Coop shines defensively with his extraordinary instincts, timing, quick leap, discipline, length, and ground coverage, and he just executes rotations, coverages, and schemes to a T, and he can sky up to secure rebounds. He's an excellent defensive playmaker, boasting a combined 7.7 stock percentage, who gets in passing lanes, digs in on drives, and thrives as a low-man rim protector, but can also lock guys up in isolation where he graded in the 94th percentile. Offensively, Coop can do everything, and I expect he'll continue to improve in all aspects. He's got fantastic touch, numerous counters, and is a strong finisher with great body control and explosiveness, whilst improving tremendously as a shooter. He's knocked down off the catch and has developed nicely as a pull-up shooter. The handle, decision making as a driver, and bag can still come along, but Flag can just get buckets through so many different avenues. Where he might bring the most value offensively early is with his playmaking. Cooper draws attention like few do, and is able to capitalize and find teammates with precision. He's awesome in the pick and roll, making pocket passes, skips, and lobs. He hits guys running the floor and creates windows with his scoring propensities from anywhere on the floor. All in all, Cooper Flag is a generational prospect and one of the best I've ever seen. His polish, dominance, production, and impact on both ends as a guy who was barely eligible for this year's draft is just insane. And he's going to be a very special player, and I just can't wait to see him hooping in Dallas. Alright, that is all I've got for this one. I should have my top 10 center video coming out soon. And then after that, in about a week, I should have my final big board. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, all that. I appreciate it. And anyway, that's all I got. JB Hoops, out.